The initial culmination of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is finally upon us. We've seen all sorts of amazing characters in this universe that we've fallen in love with that are now meeting for the first time. We're seeing Thor meet Star-Lord and Gamora. We're seeing Tony Stark and Bruce Banner meet Doctor Strange and his sidekick Wong. We're seeing Okoye meet Black Widow. And we finally see who the hell Thanos is already. But this isn't actually the first time we've seen so many characters from the Marvel Universe grace our screens. 12 years back, Raven Software and Marvel Entertainment combined forces to present us with this underrated gem of a game. Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Why is it a gem, you may ask? Let me explain. Plot summary. Our story starts with an attack on the S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier, with Nick Fury barking orders at his people to get things back on track until a message transmits onto his screen. We're then introduced to our main villain, Dr. Victor Von Doom, the dictator of Latveria, who comes with a simple request. Surrender the helicarrier now, or he'll destroy it. Fury says to hell with that and sends out a call for help to all metahumans. We then cut to the arrival of Captain America, Thor, Spider-Man, and Wolverine, all boarding the ship and kicking some serious ass.
Soulless machine! How dare you strike the son of Odin! Show off.
Excuse me, is this the ferry to Staten Island? Hey, Cap, looks like you could use some help. That dude scares me. What are you girls looking at?
The opening cinematic ends, and we enter the game proper with the heroes battling their way to Fury. Who explains to them what it is that happened. And then we're introduced to Fury's second-in-command, Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. Natasha informs the team that members of Doom's group, the Masters of Evil, have all begun processes of attempting to sabotage the ship and send it crashing into the nearest population center. The team attempts to stop them and succeed, and are then ordered by Fury to reassemble at Stark Tower in New York City. We're then greeted by Tony Stark at the tower, where Fury informs the heroes that the World Security Council is officially appointing any and all willing superhumans to the team in order to stop the Masters of Evil, and tells them that their next mission will be stopping an attack on a mobile science center called the Omega Base. But before they leave, the heroes make a small request of their pilot, Wyatt Wingfoot. While on the helicarrier, they found a laptop that belonged to Black Widow, and thought it was kind of odd that Natasha would be carrying it around in the middle of an enormous battle. Wyatt says he knows someone who can look into what Widow may be hiding, and takes them off to the Omega, where another S.H.I.E.L.D. agent named Dum Dum Dugan explains that Doom demanded full access to the base or else he'd send it crashing into a local dam and destroy the city it powered. Dugan conceded, but Doom went back on his word, which is why the heroes are here now. They managed to drive off the Masters of Evil, but not before they can steal two particular items. A new version of the Super Soldier Serum, which created Captain America, and the Mutant Amplifier device used to supercharge mutant abilities. We move back to Stark Tower, where we meet Wyatt's friend, a hacker named Weasel, who you might remember from the recent Deadpool movie. Weasel confirms that the laptop is definitely Black Widow's, but can't yet find out the password, but he'll keep them updated. The team then moves out to Atlantis to rescue Namor, the king of Atlantis, who's been usurped by a warlord named Atuma, who we eventually find out is being aided by a member of the Masters of Evil and Iron Man's arch-nemesis, the Mandarin. We find out before he left that the Mandarin stole something called the Tome of Asarius, a tablet with the locations of alternate dimensions. Fury wants to know what's up. The heroes head for Mandarin's palace and battle their way to the man himself, who wants to know why they're attacking him. The heroes say they saw him in Atlantis, but Mandarin denies ever being there and explains that he was kicked out of the Masters of Evil weeks ago for trying to usurp Dr. Doom, and suggests that the Mandarin they saw in Atlantis was likely Thor's brother and Doom's main lieutenant, Loki. The team then moves to the Sanctum Sanctorum, the home of Doctor Strange. Fury reasons that if someone like Loki is involved, they'll need magic on their side.
There's no such thing as magic.
Oh, shut up. There's no better place in the world to find magic than Doctor Strange's crib. The heroes then head to Doom's castle with the intention of saving Jean Grey and Nightcrawler, who had just been kidnapped by Doom. But they soon realize that the teleportation charm they used to travel was hijacked by Doctor Strange's own rival, Baron Mordo, and that they were actually transported to a facility called Murder World, created by an assassin called Arcade. The team still manages to save Jean, but barely miss Nightcrawler. Arcade tells them that Doom used the mutant amplifier on the X-Men to travel to a dimension analogous to Hell itself, ruled by a being named Mephisto, but Arcade insists that he wasn't told why. The team then travels out to Mephisto's realm, with Xavier tracking Nightcrawler from Earth and Jean aiding him from within the dimension itself. Jean is then kidnapped by Mephisto's son, Blackheart, who reveals that he also has Nightcrawler. Blackheart offers up the heroes a simple choice: defeat him, and you can save one of the X-Men. The heroes defeat Blackheart and then make their choice before moving on to confront Mephisto himself, who explains that Dr. Doom came to his realm to make a deal. Mephisto would give Doom a magical weapon called the Twilight Sword, and Doom would trick the heroes into coming to Mephisto's realm, trapping them there for eternity. The heroes still manage to defeat Mephisto and then move out to Asgard to thwart an invasion of super soldiers from the Omega Base, led by Loki. While on Asgard, after mostly fighting off Loki's invasion, we reconnect with Weasel, who explains that Widow's laptop contains security info on a SHIELD think tank called the Imperium, and that she's also made multiple trips to Latveria, the country Doom rules, within the last year, and just recently had an excessive amount of money transferred to her bank account. The heroes all confront Nick Fury over this, but Fury informs them that they've got it all wrong. Widow had info on the Imperium because Dr. Doom broke into the facility a month before his attack on the helicarrier, and after that, she was tasked with beefing up the security. Fury himself gave her the money to use to bribe members of Doom's inner circle into spilling whatever it is they found out about. And what they found out about was a plan called Operation Allfather. Said plan was developed for the event the Asgardians ever decided they wanted to conquer Earth. If that happened, a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. would circumvent this issue by stealing the power of Odin, the king of Asgard, with the Twilight Sword. The heroes then quickly realize that this must be Dr. Doom's plan. He wants to use the Twilight Sword to steal Odin's power and obtain what the Emperor said. The team then attempts to stop Doom, but they're slowed down thanks to Loki. When the team manages to defeat the Trickster, the Good Doctor arrives and informs them that they're too late and destroys them. Fortunately, The heroes are saved at the last possible moment by a being called Uatu the Watcher. Uatu is from a race of higher beings that are sworn to only ever observe and chronicle the universe as it transpires. But Dr. Doom's unchecked use of Odin's power is damaging the fabric of reality itself, which forces Uatu to intervene and help the heroes find a way to defeat Dr. Doom. The Watcher then explains that in order to save both the Earth and all of existence as a whole, the heroes must first travel to the Shi'ar Empire and obtain a piece of the Makran crystal, and then to the Skrull home planet in order to steal a device called the Muonic Inducer. These items combined will allow the heroes to steal a portion of Odin's power from Doom. The catch? The Shi'ar Empire is in the middle of a civil war because their queen was just usurped by her evil sister. And the Muonic Inducer belongs to a being called Galactus, who is about to devour planet Skrull.
Why must life be so hard?
The heroes manage to pull through, though, and prepare for their return home. Uatu then explains what Dr. Doom's been up to in the last chapter. And he's been pretty busy. He's been swatting away ICBMs, utterly destroying every superhero he faces off with, corrupting said heroes into his own super slaves, corrupting the entire rest of the world, creating loyal dark copies of the superheroes that aren't currently on Earth, and then just using his powers to mess around with his castle. Our heroes return to Earth and arrive in Latveria, and slowly battle their way to Doom himself. The team successfully manages to steal some of Odin's power from the Doctor. No, not that Doctor! Yes, that Doctor. Yes, thank you. And then weaken him enough for Odin to reclaim his full power from all five of you. Odin then summons Doom to Asgard to imprison him for the rest of eternity before reversing all of the damage the Dictator had done to the universe. Fury then tells the heroes that since their job is done, the Ultimate Alliance has been disbanded for the time being, but will likely be called upon again should the worlds ever need them again. That was a lot of plot to go through. Bros. Just everything about Doom. Everything about him is just so brilliant. I actually like Tim Story's Fantastic Four films, and I was actually really excited for Josh Trank's movie. I never saw it. But dear Lord, those movies may have really nailed down the titular four, but they could never pin down Dr. Doom to save their lives. Not only is the original Emperor Palpatine actor, Clive Revel, brilliant as Doom, but the way the character is written is just so freaking perfect. He steals a plan to obtain ultimate power and then suckers in pretty much every bad guy in the Marvel Universe into working for him. And sure, it's easy to sucker morons like the Scorpion and Bullseye. Just say there's money in it, and you can kill that one person you really, really hate, and they're down. But you gotta be really persuasive to convince people like Ultron, Baron Mordo, and the Enchantress. Oh, wait, no, not that Enchantress. Yeah, that Enchantress, thank you. And moreover, he knows who he's working with. These are bad guys. Some of these dudes are greedy for more power. Some of these people are the type that would bite the hand that feeds them. And he uses that to his advantage. Mandarin tried to usurp him as the leader of the Masters of Evil. Perfect. Now he has the perfect distraction for when he kidnaps the two X-Men. Doom has this whole thing planned out so perfectly that he's already won before the story starts. And if you watch the cinematic at the end of the game, when you've finally beaten Doom, right before Odin intervenes, it seems like he could still theoretically win.
You've accomplished nothing.
The only reason he ever loses is because he was so arrogant that he'd keep Odin locked up as a trophy instead of just killing him. And honestly, for someone like Doom, that makes perfect sense. Of course he's the kind of arrogant jerk who'd lock someone up as a trophy instead of just killing him. But what ties it all together is the voice. Clive Rebel's hamminess nearly rivals that of Ian McDiarmid's. The man's voice just oozes so much charisma, to the point that you may not actually care if reality is destroyed, just so long as you get to hear this guy talk more before we all die. Much respect, Mr. Clive Rebel. Scott McDonald as Nick Fury. Well, the way Fury is written in this game is a little questionable, to be honest. Scott does just such a wonderful job making you believe that this guy is a tough-as-nails army colonel and spy master, and I just love it. Also, on a side note, if you're not a comic book fan, you might be wondering why Nick looks so pale compared to how he looks in the movies. This is because the MCU's Nick is specifically based on an alternate continuity called the Ultimate Universe, where Nick Fury's design and personality were specifically based on Samuel L. Jackson, which is why Sam plays Nick in the MCU. In the main universe, known as the 616, Nick Fury was a white man up until the Avengers movie came out, when Nick's son, Nick Fury Jr., was introduced, who was also designed to look like Samuel L. Jackson, which led to the original Nick Fury being phased out. Comics are weird, my friends. They are very, very weird. Steve Blum has always been brilliant as Wolverine. As much as I love Hugh Jackman, and I really do love Hugh Jackman, when I close my eyes and think of whatever it is Logan would say, the voice I hear is Steve's. The man's been doing this since 2004, so he's still pretty fresh in the role here, but you can tell he's already got this without any issue. Cam Clarke, Quentin Flynn, and Trev Browdy all do fantastic work as Thor, Spidey, and Cap, respectively. Kim is very boisterous and hammy, Quentin is snarky and sly, and Trev is stoic and just very heroic sounding. He'd probably do a decent Superman if he hasn't voiced the Man of Steel already. The characterization for everyone is pretty spot on. If you know any of these characters from other media, they'll feel familiar. If you know any of these characters from the comics, well, they're obviously not the most fleshed out versions you could possibly find, but you'll recognize and appreciate most of these characters. There's only one real noticeable difference between any of the heroes or the villains, and that's the Winter Soldier, who pops up as one of the bosses on board the helicarrier, and also as the boss in Captain America's simulation mission. While in the comics and in the movies, it seems that the Winter Soldier has no idea of his old life as Bucky Barnes, and thus doesn't seem to know Captain America outside of their various battles. But in this game, there's actually the implication that the Winter Soldier does remember who he is, and actually resents Cap for letting him die. And I think that's pretty cool. The game itself is just really fun to play. It's an RPG where you always play as a group of 4 characters, but you can knock it down to less. The characters are mostly divided into one of 4 categories. Characters who use energy or elemental-based powers, characters who use guns, characters who just beat people up with their fists, and characters who use melee weapons, with the only real exceptions being Spider-Man and Mr. Fantastic. For the most part, you just beat people up until they stay down. But there are a few bosses, and even some mooks, that you need to actually do more than just spam your favorite powers until they die. Like when you fight the Mandarin, you have to actually trick him into letting you attack him instead of just straightforward beating the crap out of him. The cinematics are gorgeous. Special kudos to Nightcrawler's attempted escape from Castle Doom and Asgardian Guard number 2's final stand against Loki's army. I'll put links to these in the description because you just need to watch them in the full context. Believe me, you won't regret it. If you are a Marvel fan, you will adore this game. Not a Marvel movie fan, a die-hard Marvel Comics fan. Because there are some deep cuts here. Like, if you're someone who knows who Pybok and the Super Skrull are, if you're someone who knows what the Shi'ar Empire is, if you're someone who's actually picked up more than one Moon Knight comic and loved it, and if you knew who the Inhumans were before they released that god-awful pilot in IMAX for some stupid reason, then you're going to be overjoyed to pick up this game. When you play this game as certain characters and interact with certain other characters, you actually have special dialogue between these two characters. For instance, if you play as the Fantastic Four, while on Attilan, the home of the Inhumans, you have special conversations with most of the Inhumans and Uatu, since apparently the FF know these people. If you play as Spider-Man while on Asgard, and face off against Scorpion and the Lizard, the three of you actually have a little chat, with the latter two noting that they absolutely hate Spider-Man, and really, really just want to kill him already. If you play as Deadpool, then you're in for a treat. When you first talk to Weasel, he says he hasn't seen the little guy in a while. And Weasel says that's because he was put in the hospital thanks to Deadpool stabbing him in the leg over a bag of Cheetos. When you talk to Fury on Attilan, Deadpool tries to greet him all military style, and he clearly has no idea how to convey the fact that he really does respect the guy. He also tries to make Black Bolt talk, a being with a voice so powerful that if he just whispers, his voice will shatter entire buildings. In fact, pretty much any conversation with Deadpool is automatically hilarious. Cons. There are Ultron mooks on the helicarrier, which makes sense. There are these leaping demons you have to fight in Fisto's realm. That also makes sense. What doesn't make sense is that the Ultron mooks are on planet Skrull after Ultron is already dead. What also doesn't make sense are the fact that there are these leaping genetic experiment monsters on planet Skrull, and they look exactly like the leaping demons from Mephisto's realm, except they're colored yellow and the demons were colored red. Were the developers just strapped for time when working on the Skrull planet? Because this is really freaking lazy, guys. You fight Shocker and the Rhino twice, and neither time do either of these Spider-Man villains ever have a special conversation with Spider-Man himself. And same for your first fight with Scorpion on the helicarrier. Same thing with Iron Man when you face off with the Mandarin. Not once in Mandarin's palace do either Mandarin or Iron Man directly reference each other. Of all people, you have special conversations between Blade and Mandarin when you finally beat the guy. You have one between Storm and Nick Fury when you first arrive at the palace, and between Ms. Marvel and Mandarin when he first shows off his giant robot Ultimo. No special conversations for Stark whatsoever even though the Mandarin is supposed to be his arch enemy. What the hell? No special conversations for any of the X-Men when you have to make the sadistic choice between Jean Grey and Nightcrawler. At least have the actors use the player character's real name when they approach. Have Jean say, "No, Logan, Aurora, Bobby, please, don't save me. Save Kurt." And have Kurt say, "Nein, Logan, Aurora, Bobby, please, do not save me. Save Jean. Save Jean." And no special conversations for Thor in any of your Asgard missions. I mean, you can talk to Sif and her mod in the Valhallan Sanctuary, and they'll acknowledge you as Thor, but none of the Asgardians you rescue will ever acknowledge you as one of their own. It's so odd. Even though they went to the trouble of putting Colossus in the Wii, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3 versions of this game, they didn't bother to give him any special dialogue with anyone. You talk to an X-Men character in the chill out section of the various bases you wait around in before missions. You talk to Jean in Murder World, or you talk to her in Nightcrawler and Mephisto's realm. You talk to the evil Colossus in Castle Doom. I don't get it. It's not an issue of getting the voice actor to do more lines. When they added Venom, Sabretooth, Hawkeye, Cyclops, Magneto, Doctor Doom, Hulk, and Nightcrawler as DLC to the PS3 and 360, they still gave special dialogue to those characters. Granted, from what I can tell, a lot of these options were just edited versions of the original dialogue from the NPCs, save for when you play as Doom, the player character, against Doom, the final boss, and when you play as Cyclops, the player character, against Cyclops, the minor boss. But there's also extra dialogue for when you play as Cyclops and talk to Jean in Murder World. This is all just very confusing and really disappointing, to be honest. Marvel Ultimate Alliance is everything an arcade-style superhero game should be. Pure and unfiltered, unadulterated fun. If you're looking for some commentary on the human condition, then I'd say you ought to just replay Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins, and Arkham Knight. But if you just want to punch some bad guys over and over and over again, then you're in for a real treat. The game was actually just polished up for the PS4 and the Xbox One, and it's also available on the Steam. So go look for it and have a grand old time. I'm going to give Marvel Ultimate Alliance a 3.5 out of 5. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and if you did, like this video and subscribe to my channel, and check out some of the other videos I have. I got reviews up for Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, and Black Panther, and I'll be posting a review for Infinity War for my next video. Maybe it'll be a spoiler-filled, but if it is, I'll warn you. Have a great day, everyone. Woodstock, out.